Here we are for the work together on 3-1. So have your packet open to page, it's page 37 in your packet and page 62 in your textbook in order to do this. And on the left-hand side here, we have the work together 3-1, the actual problem that appears on page 62 in your textbook. And then right here we have page 37 in your packet. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through these first two entries into a 5-column journal. So the first transaction we're going to take a look at, and keep in mind these are the accounts we have to choose from, so they give us a list of accounts. And the first transaction we're looking at is on April 1st, we received cash from the owner as an investment of $1,500, and that came from receipt number 1. The first thing you got to identify here, what are the two accounts affected? And we take a look from what we can choose from. We see that we received cash, so cash is going to be affected, and it was from the owner as an investment. So if it's an investment, we know that capital is going to be affected. So those are our two counts. We take a look at this journal here, and you'll take a look per line. We already have a cash column here designated for a difference in cash. What we don't have is a column associated with the capital account. So I'm going to go through here these first two transactions. Let's fill them out together. The first thing that we want to do in this journal is we want to write the date. So we're going to write down the date. So April 1st. And then the other thing is we want to write down the other account affected that's not cash. So that's going to be Norm Derner Capital. So we write that down. So now that we have that down, now we need to get the document number. Where did we get that information from? And it's going to come from, that one came from R1 or receipt number 1, so we'll put that in the document number, R1. Now the first thing you want to do is you want to record your debits. Since cash is going up, the normal balance of cash is a debit, so we need to do the cash debit. So if I go over here to the cash column, I want to put in the cash debit, and that we received an investment of $1,500, so cash is going to go up $1,500. Now the other thing is for every debit we must have a credit. So the account that's going to be credited here is the Norm Derner Capital account, because it's an equity account and that's what's going to cause it to go up. So we want to do a general credit to Norm Derner Capital of $1,500. So we've got a debit and a credit that occurred on that transaction, a debit and a credit. So everything looks out good there, everything's equal so far. So now let's move on to the second transaction, which happened on April 2nd. We paid cash for supplies. First thing I want you to do is identify the two accounts that are affected. One is cash, the other is supplies, and cash is going to go down and supplies is going to go up. Since we already have that cash column, we have to identify the other column in the account title. So the first thing we're going to do when we're entering in this journal is we want to write down the date. This occurred on April 2nd. Notice I do not have to put the month down there because we already know we're sitting in April. Next thing we want to do is the other account besides cash that's affected, and that is supplies. And now we got to say, where did we get that from? Well, we take a look at paid cash for supplies, $375. That came from C1, which stands for check 1, so I put in the document number, C1. Now you want to do your debits before your credits. For supplies, we know that supplies is going to increase by a debit because it's an asset account. So we want to put in the general debit column for supplies of $375 because we're going to debit supplies $375. For every debit, we must have a credit. So then the other thing that's affected is cash, and cash is going down, so that's going to be credited. So we want to put in the cash credit column $375. And that's your basics of entering into a journal on this particular work together 3-1. What I'd like you to try now is go ahead and try the on your own 3-1 as well. You'll be entering in a few lines on that journal, which is on page 39 in your page 39 in your packet for the on your own, and still sitting on page 62 in your textbook right down here, the on your own problem. Give it a try.